Okay, moving on to Hotel Reverie, written by Charlie Brooker and directed by Halu Wang. In Hotel Reverie, a company called Redream decides to remake classic movies, including one called Hotel Reverie with modern actress Brandy Friday. This will be done by an AI technique that puts her consciousness inside the movie with all the other original actors. Brandy stars alongside Dorothy Chambers in the lead role, and they fall in love while making the movie. When the technology they're using to make the movie breaks, Brandy and Dorothy are stuck inside the world of Hotel Reverie where everyone else is frozen around them. Dorothy begins to understand who she really is. But after she and Brandy spend many days together, the movie resets back to a point in time, and Dorothy does not remember the time spent with Brandy. Brandy and Dorothy improvise a new ending to the movie where Dorothy dies, leaving Brandy heartbroken. After Brandy wakes up, the movie is released. It is made. It is a success. Redream sends Brandy an AI simulation where she can talk to Dorothy on the phone at any time. Thought the premise of this was quite fascinating. You know, putting a modern actress instead of just rebooting a film, putting a modern actor or actress inside of a movie. We have some
Yeah.
consistency sort of in the tech that we've seen in some other episodes of the show, is sort of how they do this and these sort of template modules that they put on themselves. But yeah, this is just I think a really interesting look at um, not just what was the reality of the world that Dorothy was living in, but what we do with content these days, if for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot. It's a love story, right?
Yes.
And I liked how there's the old movie feel to it, and but the insertion of Issa Rae's character, Brandy, right? Um, Almost in particular, I don't know. I've talked to a couple of people who seem to feel like that didn't work for them. Right? Like a couple of people have said things to me like that almost ruined it. But I mean, it did work for me. Any thoughts on that? Because there is kind of like there's a weird kind of difference in tone that
Okay.
they're
Yes.
playing with. I think between the old timey movie, but then even how she acts in the movie. Any
Yes.
thoughts on that?
I was going to make this exact point. I'm glad you brought it up, which is it was a little bit of a moment for me to get beyond the okay. Brandy speaks and acts and tonally is very much a 2025 version of someone we would realize today. Whereas you go into this movie with Dorothy Chambers, who is probably intentionally speaking with a British accent, speaking in a very sophisticated way, using language we might not necessarily use today. And so just sort of the dichotomy of those two people bumping up against each other, it's really like, oh, this is a little bit awkward and clunky, but then you sort of start to realize that, oh, this is just one thing where they're able to overcome and build this thing on top of it. So I understand that point, but I think it was more a feature than a bug.
I agree. Yeah. And there are terms for this that I could have looked up and made a note of that I didn't. But yeah, I mean, like the old timey movie, it's in the old style, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And there is that shift in acting, right?
Yes,
Between
yes.
that, I mean, like you watch Casablanca or something like that, if we use that as the example, you know. Don't make the mistake of thinking like normal people in the 1950s talked that way. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of overblown kind of melodramatic
Yeah.
sort of acting style. Whereas what you're getting from the Brandy character, who's a well-known actor in the universe of the story and all of that, is that newer, more naturalistic style, like where
Yes, yes, yes.
um, and I mean, for me, I thought it worked. It creates some moments of humor, but then also I think feeds into the love story ultimately, which is the kind of the central thing that worked for me about the episode when it comes down to it.
Yeah, just sort of this in many ways opposites attract type of thing, right? They're both just completely opposite of one another in terms of not just ethnicity, but in terms of the way they speak, where they're from, how they act, the fact that one of them knows where they are and the other one doesn't. But still, it becomes, as you said, a pretty powerful love story. I mean, you always think of situations like this, your mind's going to go back to San Junipero, which maybe coincidentally she lives on Junipero Drive in this
Hmm.
episode. But yeah, it just seems like this love story that was created out of the idea of something that's supposed to be just a cut and dry technology. It works and move on. But the unintended consequences are you create a relationship that then it's a struggle to decide, do I want to get out of it or not?
Yeah. And I mean, I do feel like I want to throw this in there, right? Like, I feel like there is a relatively strong implication that the real life Dorothy Parker was gay, but wasn't allowed to be,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
the fact that they made this kind of almost quirky decision to gender flip the lead because Brandy wanted to do it and so on opens up, like they keep saying, like, well, what I've never seen what's how Claire's behaving that way. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, now, I mean, I don't know about the question of, I don't know, plausibility or what, um, with, I was willing to just accept this in watching the episode and not worry about it. But it definitely seems that Clara slash Dorothy, with as an AI within the simulated movie, um, basically, it definitely seems like she gains self conscious awareness
Yeah.
as a person, um, and that's tied in with why she doesn't freeze like everyone else does. But I don't know if there's a really an explanation for that. I was willing to just kind of go along. What about you?
Yeah,
Any thoughts?
they kind of try to exposit this a little bit where they talk about, oh, she put so much of her acting or drew so much of her acting as part of who she was as a person. That's where all of the emotion and her tone came from. And then my assumption was they told us that so we could see that she actually grew this AI version of herself was able to, I guess, gain some sort of sense of cognition because there was actually a piece of Dorothy in there because that's how she acted. I think that's why they threw that little conversation in there.
Yeah, and the YouTube videos and stuff. So like that she managed to incorporate all of this stuff about the real life Dorothy Parker, and that
Yeah.
became the key thing. And then ultimately she kind of escapes containment, however you want to read that. I don't know. I mean, for me, Black Mirror's played with ideas of quote unquote artificial intelligence or
Hmm.
copies of people's consciousnesses, or what it's played with that for years at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't even necessarily feel the need to put this in any kind of continuity with any question about currently existing, large language models or generative AI, as people call it,
Hmm.
or or like, is it plausible? Yeah, I'm not even kind of asking that question. I'm willing to just accept, oh, well, they did this, and oh, that one got self-awareness, right? That one's a
Yeah.
person now. Whoopsie. I'm willing to just kind of
I
buy
did
it.
think I put this in in our notes to sort of talk through this idea of the explanation, which was really just a bunch of techno gobbledygook of why she could not come out of the the AI consciousness that she's in while making this movie seemed just like we need to create some reason why she stays in there forever. It didn't really. I mean, none of this is necessarily quote unquote plausible, but just
Right.
seemed like more of a like, well, we'll just ramble on about some of these reasons why she can, and that's why you just need to accept that and move on.
Yeah, they needed this. Would it be appropriate to call this a MacGuffin? I think this might be the
Yeah.
MacGuffin. They needed that kind of hook in there, I guess.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because I was entertained enough. I was thinking about this as I was watching the episode. Like, if the whole thing had just been, can she get through the movie? It would have worked well enough for, like, I would have been entertained, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Um, because oops, she immediately was like, "What do you mean she can't play piano? That's a problem."
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, if it had just been that kind of story, but I really think it manages to be more than that through what you're talking about. So again, I'm just willing to accept it.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, also because like it sets off because you've got Chekhov's coffee cup,
I was
It's
gonna
like I'm
say,
just throwing more and more terms out here.
don't forget your rules about putting liquids near the computer, buddy, or what whatever she is, she says.
Ooh, yeah, no, yeah, right. Like exactly. Like you have to set it up with her. It's like, don't put coffee near the computer, and then later it's like, whoops, I spilled my coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But creating those kinds of stakes where first, right, um, Brandy is caught within the film and has to get through the film in order to survive, probably,
Yeah.
right? Like they're saying. She's almost certainly going to be stuck in there and die. That'd be a
Yeah.
problem. Um, but then the technical malfunction where everyone in the film freezes except for Brandy and Dorothy. I mean, whatever names we should be using at that point,
Yeah.
opens up what I thought was a really kind of beautiful vignette because they also bring in the time dilation kind of thing that Black Mirror has played with before. Time
Mhm.
is moving way faster
Yes.
in the film, right? So when it comes down to it, they have this love that spans for months. I mean, I don't know if they tell us exactly how long, but at least
Yeah.
months.
You just see those calendar days flip by, and then Aquafina character, I forget her name, Kimmy, tells the people she's there with that, oh, it's going to feel to her like a lot longer than it's been for us, when they finally decide to reset it. So yeah, this idea of unclear how long it's been, but enough time to develop, I mean, a deep and intimate relationship between Dorothy and Brandy.
Yeah, it reminded me to some extent of the episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, Inner Light. Are you familiar with that episode?
No.
Um, Short version is it's like Picard gets, I forget exactly what it is. They run into some alien species or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's like they trap Picard in this time bubble thing.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember why it happens, right? But the long and short of it is, it's like Jean-Luc Picard lives out an entire life as if he were
uh
a guy on this planet who gets married and has children and loves his wife and but like none of it's real.
I see.
So that
Yeah.
at the end of it, he's then back to himself or whatever. Um, so it gave me some vibes like that, but maybe I tend to say inverse, but I don't know if that quite fits. It's definitely kind of darker. Anyway, like that moment where, because the people on the outside don't know what's going on
Right,
inside, right?
exactly.
But so they finally get things back, right? Kimmy makes contact, and it's very quick. Where you've just had this couple talking about how they love each other,
Yeah.
and now Kimmy's like, okay, we're back. We're going to reset the movie. And so it really makes you think about the status of that character as Clara/Dorothy and all the growth over those months and the love that seems real between these two characters
Yep.
and then gone. I mean,
Yeah.
it lands like a death for me.
Yeah, exactly. I found it, I mean, devastating and quite emotional to have. Well, I mean, you could set up stakes where, okay, this is going to end in this movie when we finish doing this in whatever amount of time it takes to do it. But go to your point, what she hears from Kimmy. Oh, good, we've got you back. Okay, count down from 10. We're resetting this. She's not going to remember anything about it. Don't worry. To have that sort of jarring sense of I'm losing this person that I love, and then have to go back not only to do this job I'm supposed to do it with the person that I fall in love with, but have that person not reciprocate that in the way that I know that they would because we've lost all of that. Yeah, I mean, it's just devastating.
Yeah, agreed. And that's where I really think Issa Rae's performance there as Brandy really does work in that moment because she's affected by it. She can't just get over that
Yeah.
and proceed, but at the same time, she has to because otherwise she's trapped in the movie forever, going to die
Yeah.
or whatever. So she has to get to the end of the film, but then she also wants to like connect with Clara again I just thought all of this worked very well when it
Did
came
you get
down
the
to it.
sense that she was trying to make a choice between finishing the movie and going back to her normal life, or staying there and her body would die, but her consciousness and soul, I think she says, and spirit would live on past that. So she'd get, I don't know, an infinite, eternal amount of time with Brandy. I was trying to decide if they were saying that her consciousness there inside the movie would die at the same time that her body did. I don't think they made that connection, but I wasn't quite clear on it.
I don't think it was entirely clear. I mean, I recall there's a point in there where she kind of asks the question. Um, I do feel like there's at least a feeling that maybe if she'd had the opportunity to make that decision before they reset and the Clara she'd spent months with died or
Yeah,
whatever, however you want to put that. If she'd had the ability to make the decision then, maybe she would have decided, no,
yeah.
I'm going to stay here with the woman that I love and so on and so forth. But um they're at least playing with it, but when it comes down to it, yeah, she's on board with finishing the movie to,
Yeah.
get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, just interesting questions it leaves you with, even though it sort of has a pretty final, I mean, for a Black Mirror episode, it has a pretty final ending. There's not really a sense of what's going to happen the next day. Well, the next day she's going to call Dorothy, and the same for the next day, the next day, the next day after that.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of turn a little bit in my mind, though, and we should talk about this some. I think that well, first of all, the way that the rest of the film plays out and the new version of the film that we end up with, Hotel Reverie, I
Hmm.
thought all of that worked,
Hmm.
And even though that one version of Clara had been lost, you get kind of quick movement in Clara because of how Brandy's behaving
Yeah.
or whatever, pushing her in the direction where she ends up, where she grabs the gun and shoots him and all of that. Um, but okay, then the movie's over. So, it's like, to what extent is the AI Dorothy that Brandy is talking to on the phone the same person
Yeah.
as the one she was interacting with in Hotel Reverie? She's not, right? Like, she's not
I,
even the same version of the AI.
that's the impression I got. We've now recreated a new version of AI Dorothy, but we're going to give you the ability to talk with her and develop relationship just as you did before. But you're gonna have to kind of start at the beginning because yeah, this is a new construct we had to build of this person.
Yeah, yeah. But see, then that opens up the space of
Yeah.
like going in the direction of what happens in an episode like Be Right Back. Remember that one?
Okay.
I don't know if you do. Do you remember that one? This early, it was like
Yeah,
season one
early on.
episode
Yeah, yeah.
where the woman's husband dies and then they make an AI version of him.
Yes. Yes.
That didn't go well ultimately. You know what I mean? So I think even to the extent that the ending of Hotel Reverie feels like a happy ending, if we
Yes.
start imagining the future of uh, her spending time talking to this digital AI Dorothy and where that might lead, I think it could get dark again,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
What's the
overall,
guarantee you're going to get the same outcome if you spend weeks and months with this person as you did with the last? Yeah, there is none.
yeah, does this lead in the direction of Brandy using her wealth to create a robot Dorothy? Like,
Right.
maybe, tie these things together, but I don't know. Putting that aside, I do think that in a certain way, this is almost the most feel good Black Mirror episode in my mind.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad at the same time. So,
Yeah. I completely agree.
um, you've got one more point in our notes, I think. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, just something it made me think of. I think that, while obviously there's been a lot of, you know, rights and usage and what's appropriate to do and not do with AI in the Hollywood news over the past couple of years. I've not obviously seen, I think, movies or shows do anything close to what's being talked about in this episode, but it did make me think about times where directors or movies have done this, such as I think the link that I gave to is in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Quentin Tarantino filmed Leonardo DiCaprio as he was the Steve McQueen character in The Great Escape. And then just
Yeah.
sort of puts him in the footage of that, and so I have wondered before, are we close to, I mean, clearly there's the technology to do this, close to, put Ryan Gosling or Leonardo DiCaprio in the Humphrey Bogart role and just make them as a part of this movie. It's just sort of scene for scene what we just saw, like when here in Hotel Reverie. Could that be done? I don't know. I don't know anything about the rights and if they would be interested in doing that, but the technology to do it is there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the technology is quite there though in terms of the AI versions of the
Yeah.
characters in the film.
Yeah.
I'm also it's really weird. I with this episode, thinking about my reactions and the fact that I really sort of love this episode because if we start thinking about this sort of thing, I'm opposed to it. Right?
Mm.
We start thinking about it like in the real world,
Yes.
but
Yes.
somehow with the way that this episode played out, I wasn't even really hardly thinking about having that sort of objection. It didn't really seem like the primary question the episode was asking. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe I wouldn't be fully opposed to it,
Yeah.
but I don't think that it is quite possible with existing technology now.
No.
You
No.
might think, and someone listening to this might be thinking, "Oh, but it will be soon," or something like that. Maybe,
Yeah.
But this the the small minimal differences are important here, right?
Yeah. That's right.
At least in my mind.
Yeah.
So, could
Absolutely.
you take the footage of Casablanca and put Ryan Reynolds in there? And well, yeah, I mean, of course, at one level, this technology
Yeah.
exists and has
Yeah.
existed for a while, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
to like superimpose or whatever, but to be able to do something like what they do in Hotel Reverie, the Netflix, the Black Mirror episode,
Yeah.
what's distinctive about it is that you do have some relative autonomy of the characters within the movie,
Hmm.
and she's got to like play it like a game almost,
Right.
and
Right.
um because she can't play piano, then Clara doesn't behave the right way, and now there's a problem with the poison
Yeah.
drink, and
Yeah.
um yeah, so but yeah, I really did enjoy the I don't know if they had to kill the dog, but
Oh, yeah. I know. Poor Bun Bun.
you know, it's always there's exists a website that gives I forget what it's called. It's called like "Does the dog die?" or something.
So you can know before you watch it if you're going to see
Mhm.
yeah, that makes sense. I might need that for a
There,
little kid sometime.
yeah, or I mean, like I know a couple of adults who won't watch a movie if the dog dies.
Yep. Yep.
They're just like, nope, not doing it. So if for some reason you're listening to this, you haven't watched Hotel Reverie yet, and you're one of those people, then be warned, the dog
That's
dies.
right.
And yeah, so good episode, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this one before we wrap up?
No, good. I'm glad we talked about both of these. This good sort of double feature there.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll pick up next week with Plaything, and then I think we'll give Eulogy a week, and then USS Callister 2 Electric Boogaloo will get its own episode as well. So we're going to work through this over the next few weeks. Hopefully you'll stick with us. Thanks always for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. You can read about Black Mirror and other things on tvobsessive.com. Encourage you to go to the site, poke around, and we'll be back next week talking about Plaything, which might be my favorite episode. of season 7, personally.
Okay, good. I've actually have not watched this one yet, so I'm going to take care of that this weekend and looking forward to talking with you about it next time.
It's got everything. It's got Peter Capaldi. It's got Will Poulter. It's got, Bandersnatch references. But okay, we'll see you next week.
All right, see you then.